You have questions,
What is slashing?
we have answers.
Slashing is like that, you know?
And there's a penalty for that?
Yeah, you do that, you go to the box, you know, 2 minutes by yourself, and you feel shame, you know, and then you get free.
This is CBJ in 30.
Anything you folks want to know about the fascinating world of pro hockey, here we go.
Tweet your questions by using the hashtag CBJIN30.
We'd like to remind you folks, keep your questions within the boundaries of good taste.
Here's your host, Bob McElligott.
And welcome to another edition of CBJ in 30 here on this Wednesday from Nationwide Arena, taking your tweets with your questions, your comments, and you can use the hashtag CBJ in 30 to send those along. That is CBJIN30 to have a chance, a slight chance maybe, well, you never know, to get on the show today. What do they say when they talk about the lottery? You got to play to win, right? You got to tweet to have a chance. It's as simple as that. Well, no playoff games last night in the National Hockey League. Can you believe that? The definition of a night off is really what it was. Nothing going on last night in the NHL. A couple of days off for the Kings and the Blackhawks, who will get back at it tonight with Game 2 at the United Center in Chicago. And the Rangers and Canadiens are going to take an extra day off and then resume tomorrow at Madison Square Garden in New York City. So my question to you is, and I tweeted this out a little while ago, and I'm getting some good responses, who do you think is going to win tonight's game and why? Blackhawks or Kings? Not who do you think is going to win, and that's enough for me. Why? Justify your answer. I'll start this show by giving you my answer. I think the Chicago Blackhawks win again tonight, and I'll tell you why. Because they're playing at home, and they're great at home, number one. And I think these teams are very evenly matched. I think the Los Angeles Kings gave the Blackhawks just about everything they had in Game 1 of that series a couple of days ago, and giving them everything they had just wasn't good enough. And the Blackhawks seem to – they don't luck into the bounces of the puck. They create their chances. They create their opportunities, and they do that even more so at home. And you can probably say that about any team. But this is a team that is defending Stanley Cup champion. They've won 2 cups in the last couple of years. They know what it takes to get it done. They're playing on home ice in front of their home crowd. They've got the advantage. I think they win again tonight. They go up 2-0. And in most series, when a team goes up 2-0, you think the other team is in trouble. They're dead in the water. They're just about it's a formality before they're finished. But in this case, we would be talking about the Los Angeles Kings, who have rebounded from a 3-0 deficit already in these playoffs. They've come back twice and forced Game 7s in the first 2 series, and they've won them. So even if the Chicago Blackhawks win tonight, if you think I'm going to write off the Los Angeles Kings and say that they're done, that is just not going to happen because they're not done. That's just how they are. That's just the way they're playing right now. They really seem like they're they get that back against the wall mentality, and then they come at you. You put them into a corner, and they come out at you. Nobody puts baby in the corner, right? And they just come right back. So even if they lose tonight on the road in Chicago, it won't surprise me. I expect the Blackhawks to win that game tonight. But then when Chicago has to go to Staples Center and play the Kings, all bets are off. It'll be a totally different series. So, again, fun to watch. I like these 2 teams, and I know that many of you are cringing right now and say, how could you like a team like the Los Angeles Kings? How could you like a team with a guy there like Jeff Carter who didn't want to be in Columbus and went there and won a Stanley Cup and is trying to win another one? Marian Gaborik getting traded this year and going over there and playing. Don't you have some animosity toward that team? Yeah, in some ways I do, but you're not doing it now from a standpoint of playing against the Los Angeles Kings. Now you're an outsider. You're a fan and watching. And I'll tell you, I like the way the Los Angeles Kings play. I like just about everything about their game. They have that scoring. They've got the 2 guys that I just mentioned that are very good finishers, and they're finesse types of guys. And then they've got grit. They've got, the Dustin Browns, the Justin Williams, those guys that are just going to come after you. They're going to wear you down. They're going to beat you to death. They got Drew Doughty, who can score from the blue line. And also, everybody talks about his scoring, but he plays pretty well defensively too. They have those guys. They will wear you down. They can grind you down. And then all of a sudden, once you're ground down and you make a mistake, they'll capitalize on it. And then in net with Jonathan Quick, that goes without saying. They're excellent back there. So I like a lot about the Los Angeles Kings. I like the way they play. I like the way their team is constructed. I like the game that they bring. The Chicago Blackhawks are different. You don't look at the Blackhawks as a team that is going to beat you up and wear you down, but they still do that to an extent. But they don't do it with their stars. They don't, obviously Patrick Kane, when you think about him, he's going to score that highlight goal, or he's going to be the guy with the good hands in front of the net picking up a rebound and getting one of those quote-unquote garbage goal kind of things. Jonathan Toews, though, to me, he's tougher than maybe gets talked about, or maybe that he gets credit for. He does a lot of hard work, and he's a finisher too. So, he's seen, you always say Toews and Kane, and you think about them scoring these highlight reel goals and all of that stuff. But Jonathan Toews carries a pretty heavy workload too. Patrick Sharp is great in that regard, and then they got plenty of other guys that come in there and they just do the yeoman's work, and they find a way to get it done. So they're fun to watch, but they're different. The Kings are, to me, the Kings are more. When I think of the Kings, I don't think of the Carters and the Gabricks as much being the flash guys. I think of a team that's big and rugged, and they're going to beat up on you. And when I think of the Blackhawks, I think more of the flash with those types of guys. But nonetheless, two very well-matched teams in what hopefully is going to be a long and entertaining series here. I saw this little excerpt from the Chicago Sun-Times today, and it kind of caught my attention, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. Mark Lazarus is the guy that wrote this, and here's basically what it says. While you freak out about whether Peter Regan should stay in the lineup when Andrew Shaw returns, when you agonize about whether Brandon Bollig or Jeremy Marin is the best fit for the fourth line, while you rend garments over a bad power play here or a lousy turnover there, just pause for a moment, take a step back, breathe, and realize what you're freaking out about. And he goes on to say, you're not freaking out about untelevised games, about penny-pinching owners putting a minor league team on the ice, not about incompetent coaches, player discord, empty buildings, or an indifferent city. And the reason this caught my attention that he wrote this is he's absolutely right. Chicago, just like Pittsburgh, you don't have to go that far back into history to find an empty building and to find a team that wasn't very good. It's recent history for franchises like this. Now they have turned it around through the draft. They've got a couple of great players. They've surrounded them with great players, and now they're worried about hockey things. And this is why it jumped out at me when he talks about if you're worried about Peter Regan plays when Andrew Shaw returns. Because that, to me, is what has happened here in Columbus in the last couple of years, too. And when I was reading this morning, I was thinking about this show and your questions that come in and the things that you talk about. And it was only a couple of years ago, well, and even last year, because there were 3 first-round draft picks, but the draft was a huge topic year in and year out because the Blue Jackets were drafting high, which meant they didn't have the best of seasons leading into that draft. Who's available, who do you think they're going to take, and you'd get all geeked up about first-round picks and what guy might be available. Just go back to a couple of years ago in Pittsburgh with the Ryan Murray, Nail Yakupov draft. How much talk there was leading up to that? Well, there was so much talk because you finished 30th and then lost the lottery. So it was warranted talk. I understand that. But look at the conversations we're having now. We're talking about if R.J. Umberger really has requested a trade and he gets moved out, what player do you get for him? What young guys are going to be ready to step into that role? So many great things. And that's what I thought of when I read this article this morning, talking about you're worried about real-life things now. You're worried about the game. You're not worried about the peripheral stuff. You're worried about your team getting better, but a team that's been in the playoffs and now wants to win in the playoffs and win a round and win 2 rounds and win 3 rounds and win 4 rounds. That's where the focus is now, and I think it's great. And when I read that today, that's what that made me think of, and that's why I wanted to bring that up to you today. Because when we talk about – how much have we really talked about the draft? I mean, how much have we talked about who will be available at number 16? It's not that nobody cares, but it's less of an issue. Because now the issue is Alexander Wennberg ready to play? Is Kirby Reichel, how far away is Kirby Reichel from being able to play? Especially when you look at what he's doing in the Memorial Cup tournament. So those are great. To me, it's great. It's just great hockey questions, and it means that your franchise is headed in the right direction. So that is that's what makes me happy about it. And like I said, when I saw that today, I thought about that. You're not worried about that extra stuff anymore. You're worried about your team and you know they're good and you want to see them get better. Simple as that. So I think that's a great thing, and that's why I wanted to point it out today. All right. And speaking on that topic, as we go to your questions and your comments by using the hashtag CBJN30. Troy Current says, is there a free agent out there that would fit this team better than any others? I'll go back to what I said a couple of weeks ago when it comes to free agents. There are pending free agents out there, but there are also guys that the teams that they're coming from would like to lock up. They would like to, Paul Stastny is a guy. You think the Colorado Avalanche wouldn't like to keep that guy? Sure they would. So when free agency comes, is he going to be available? Is he not going to be available? That's the whole thing about free agency. And while the playoffs are going on, you notice how things kind of get quiet in a way. Teams aren't making big announcements or those kind of things because they don't want to take away, they don't want to detract from the Stanley Cup playoffs. Although the Vancouver Canucks are going to name Jim Benning this week as their new general manager. He'll leave the Boston Bruins, where he was an assistant general manager, and move on. And I kind of like that, by the way. I like somebody new getting an opportunity instead of a recycled guy coming in. And because if it doesn't work out, what's the next step you do as a team? You go get a recycled guy and you bring him in because giving a guy a chance didn't work. But, Jim Benning has worked with Pete Chiarelli in Boston. They've had great success. And when you're a team looking for a general manager, you're looking for high-profile personnel, where do you look? You look to organizations that have had success. And that's exactly what the Vancouver Canucks are doing by bringing him in as the general manager. So, now there's another thing. Now, once he takes over, because there's lots of things out there right now about Ryan Kesler, is he going to stay in Vancouver? A lot of people are saying the Anaheim Ducks would be a good fit for him, and the Ducks had interest before the trade deadline and tried to work something out. Pittsburgh was in the discussion, supposedly, before the trade deadline when it came to Ryan Kesler. There were stories about Columbus being interested in Ryan Kesler before the trade deadline. And then, of course, Ryan Kesler and his former Ohio State teammate R.J. Umberger don't have the greatest relationship anymore, and everybody knew that. So that was another thing. Well, could those two play together? Well, the playing field could change there with what's going on there. And I'm not telling you anything that the Blue Jackets would go do that. I'm just talking off the top of my head and saying, well, if you had a concern there before, that concern might not be in play any longer. So there's a lot of things that could go on all throughout the league. So, is there a free agent? Again, I don't want to tell you what free agent who could fit who's really available? Who is really available when it is all said and done? And that's what we're going to find out here over the course of the next couple of weeks. I am going to get to your tweets about who's going to win tonight. I'll save that for near the end of the show, talking about the Blackhawks or the Kings and why. So if you want to jump in on that, you can still tweet your prediction and why to CBJN30. Use that hashtag today. David wants to know, with R.J. Umberger likely gone, do you see a better chance of being re-signed Jack Skilly, Derek McKenzie, and Blake Como? Again, I haven't talked to a soul about any of this. You're asking my opinion. I'll give you my opinion. I would say of that group, and maybe I hope I'm talking not with my heart, but really with my head. But as I look at that trio, I would say Derek McKenzie. I think Derek McKenzie brings an upside, not that the other two guys don't, but I think Derek McKenzie has been here and has been a part of this. And as I've told you before, and we had Derek on the show on Friday last week from outside on the Front Street Friday when we were out in the plaza in front of the arena here. And I talked with him about his role in this organization. He has a leadership role here. That's why I think that he would be the guy. I think he gets a little bit more credibility for that. Is credibility the right word? I don't know. Maybe he gets he's nudged ahead just a little bit because of some of the intangibles. And then what he does on the ice on the fourth line. Because essentially what we're talking about here, I know Jack Skilly finished the year playing with Ryan Johansson and Boone Jenner on the top line in the playoffs, but that's a spot that Nathan Horton's going to be taking. If Nathan Horton is healthy, Jack Skilly's not playing on that line, right? More than likely. Or he's, Nathan Horton's part of that mix, and maybe Jack Skilly's a bottom six guy, not a top six guy. So Derek McKenzie knows what he is. He knows he's a leader. He knows he's a fourth-line guy. He knows he's an energy guy. He knows occasionally he'll be asked to step up and play on the third line. I know you'll probably say, well, you can find guys like that, and you can. You can. You can find Blake Comos as well. Jack Skilly, his speed that's the one thing it's hard to find, the speed that he has. But as you ask me, I would say I think Derek McKenzie has I think he has an inside track. But again, I'll be honest. I would give him an inside track because I like him. I love the way he plays. I've had a personal relationship with him for a long time, and I would love to see him stay. Personally, I would love to see him stay. Joshua Mark Hall says, any chance of hearing Jody Shelley on a CBJ in 30 episode? Funny you ask that, Joshua, because we're in negotiation. My people are talking to his people. He's got a very busy schedule. I saw him on TV last night. He was practicing to play golf in the Channel 10 Wall-to-Wall Sports Challenge, Blue Jackets against the Ohio State Buckeyes. I saw him on the practice tee there. I saw him on the driving range getting loose. So he's a busy guy. He's got a lot going on. But we have talked about it, and we do want to do that. And when the schedules actually mesh, we are going to do that because he wants to, he wants to get back to work. He doesn't want to he has plenty of things on his mind and plenty of things to talk about with what's going on in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, we'll get him on here at some point. When that is, I'm not going to nail it down to a date because we just have to wait. We just have to wait. Nate Orsini wants to know who might be on their way out of town this summer, already knowing that R.J. Umberger might be on the trading block. Well, again, as we talked about, Nikita Nikitin maybe, Blake Como maybe, Jack Skilly maybe, Derek McKenzie maybe. Those are the unrestricted free agents. And when it comes to trades, again, if there's somebody that might be available, who knows what kind of package it's going to take to get that guy and to put them together. So just talking from the potential unrestricted free agents, that is, those are the guys that jump to the top of that list. And so those are the guys that I would say. All right, Grandma Jacket is checked in today. Let me see. I got to enlarge this avatar and just see. It's a wonderful headshot for the avatar there. Grandma Jacket says, when you're not broadcasting games that Cosell is jealous of or doing this, what do you do? Keep up the good work, you hunk of man. Well, to say Cosell shows Grandma Jacket's age, right? shows your age, which with that handle, that fits in nicely. What do I do when I'm not doing this? Well, during the summertime, what I do mostly is spend a lot of time doing some Little League baseball coaching, which is, a challenge in its own right with 12-year-olds. A lot of bullpen catching. My legs hurt a lot. I'm getting too old for that. But that's what I spend most of my time doing when I'm not fighting with my kids about why they're not doing their homework or why they didn't turn in that assignment or why they just dropped their clothes right in the middle of the floor or why you're actually walking around the house with your baseball shoes still on that you just walked around in the mud. When I'm not doing those things, then I'm kind of just relaxed watching TV. I watch a lot of playoff hockey. I mean, what else am I going to do? It's part of my job, too. So does that count as working? If I sit on my couch for 3+ hours a night and watch Stanley Cup playoff games, does that count as working? I don't know. If it does, it's a heck of a job, isn't it? Heck of a job. Let's see. CBJ Orty says, does Jeff Rimmer give you any pointers? Oh, yes, constantly. Constantly. All the time. I wouldn't be the broadcaster I am today without those pointers. No, we have a good relationship. We have a friendship, and there's nothing specific, to be honest with you. It's if I want to know something, hey, this is a guy that's been in this business and in this league for a long time, has a lot of contacts, has a lot of knowledge about what goes on. So if I want to know something, I ask him. If there's something he thinks I should know, he tells me. And it's you take that. What do I want to say? Why am I at a loss for words here? I guess I need for him to give me some pointers on how to talk. But you take that and you cherish it, you treasure it, you take the advice and you do what you can do with it to make yourself better. That's what I'm really trying to say. Should I even continue this show now? I couldn't even get out one answer, for crying out loud. I still got 10 minutes. Next one says, what's next here? Not a question, Der Drake. Not a question so much as a comment. An Umberger trade to the Penguins could be some more fire for the rivalry. Yeah, it could be. It could be. And again, I don't know if that would happen or not. I know that, it's obviously it's his hometown team. I know they like him. I know they have liked him. I know they keep talking about needing more grit, needing bottom six guys. But again, there has to be the numbers have to work. Financially, numbers have to work. So, do the numbers work? Can you work something out there? And then, are you concerned about trading a guy within your own division? All of that stuff. So, it would fuel the rivalry, though, even more. Absolutely. Billy Santry wants to know, how soon do you think we'll see our prospects on the ice playing in the NHL like Alexander Wenberg? For Alexander Wenberg, from all reports, depending on what kind of a summer he has and what kind of a training camp he has, it could be the fall, if he's ready. Kirby Reichel, I think, just based on what I've heard, what I've read, I think they would like him to start in the American Hockey League. But again, he'll get an opportunity. I think this past year, had Boone Jenner started in Springfield, it would have been a surprise to nobody. But he earned a spot in training camp. So from that aspect, it's very easy to say where you think a guy's going to be, but a guy can play himself into a different role. Boone Jenner played himself onto this team, gave himself an opportunity to go out there day in and day out and do things, and he did, and he stayed, and he was great, and he's important. And, going into this season, he's not even thinking about going to the American Hockey League. He's thinking about becoming a better NHL player, and that's what he'll be. So, whatever a plan, it's easy to say what a plan is for a guy today, but the great things about plans are they can be changed. And the player has a chance to change your plan for them based on their performance. And the bulk of that performance is going to be in training camp. Now, what you do in the prospects camp, it weighs in. How you're handling yourself off the ice, the things that you're doing, the training that you're doing, the kind of shape that you're in, that all plays in. Don't get me wrong. But when you come to that training camp, the way you work, the way you're going about things, the way you're performing in preseason games, because let's face it, if you're Nathan Horton, if you're Brandon Dubinsky, does it matter how you perform in a preseason game? No, not at all. It doesn't. You're going to be on the team. That's the way it is. You're going to play. You're trying to get yourself into game shape. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're going to go out there and dog it, but I'm just saying if you play in 4 preseason games and 2 of them you didn't play very well in, does that put you in jeopardy as that kind of a player? No. But if you're a Kirby Reichel or an Alexander Wenberg or a Marco Dano or any of those kind of guys, if you play 5 preseason games and 3 of them aren't very good, you didn't do yourself any service whatsoever. You've done yourself a disservice. You've got to go out there and play well in those games, and you have to make an impact, and you have to be a standout. So, those guys will have the opportunity. They will have that chance, and it will be up to them to see what they do with that chance. All right, time to get to your predictions on tonight's playoff game. Will it be the Kings? Will it be the Blackhawks? I've already said I think it's going to be the Blackhawks tonight. And I wanted you to say not only who do you think will win, but why. Let's start with Melanie, who says home ice advantage. Blackhawks are going to win 6 straight wins against the Kings, 7 straight undefeated home games. So, she backed it up with the numbers, and that's good. Joey Girard says got to go with the LA Kings because of Marian Gaborik. So he thinks Gaborik's going to be a factor in the game tonight. Moving on here, Lil Yellow Mini says Blackhawks over the Kings. They've got momentum, and last year backing them up. Of course, last year would be the Blackhawks eliminating the Kings and going on and eventually winning the Stanley Cup. Jess P. puts it very simply. This is the kind of answer I like. I really like this, Jess. You just break it right down. We go black and white. There's no gray area, right to the core. Jess P. says Blackhawks will win because I think they are the better team. Simple. Simple. That's what I like. Simple. I can handle simple. Now, you get complex, I get lost. Stephanie N. says the Blackhawks are going to win because they don't lose at the United Center, especially during the playoffs. Scott Buzzard says Kings, Gaborik. Now that is simple. That really is simple. Kings, Gaborik. I said, who's going to win? Gave me a one-word answer. Why? Gave me a one-word answer. I guess you don't get much more simple than that. 2 one-word answers. That's all it takes. Alexis says the Blackhawks are going to win because they are playing at home. So that seems to be the school of thought. The Blackhawks playing at the United Center, they're going to win. They're going to go up 2-0. But again, don't forget, like I told you, even if that happens, that doesn't mean that it is the series is over. No way. Because then you got to go to L.A. Then you have to go to Los Angeles and play at Staples Center. And I think that's a place that I think it's underrated. I really think it's underrated as far as home ice advantage. I think it's tougher to play there than a lot of people talk about. Because, first of all, it's always full. It's always sold out. They are a good hockey crowd. They've had that team for a long time. Now, they may have just had more recent success. Not that they never had success, for crying out loud. They had Wayne Gretzky playing there in the early 90s. And had Barry Melrose behind the bench with his mullet. I mean, they know the game. They've had the game there for a long time. They've had the Kings there since '67, so they know what's going on. And it's a good hockey crowd, and it's tough to play there. And I think what they do, what their game entertainment people do there, they get their crowd into the game. They make it a tough building, and their team is tough. So when you put that all together, I think that place gets overlooked a lot when you talk about some of the tougher places to play in the league. I don't think it's very easy to go in there and play. I think it's just like San Jose. Anaheim is, to me, Anaheim is not. I shouldn't say it's not a tough place to play, but I just don't think it has that kind of atmosphere in the games that I've been there for. And there have been some big games, but it's just kind of lacking something. But I think Staples Center has it. San Jose definitely has it. Weow says, can I vote for a tie? You can vote for a tie, but it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There are no ties in the playoffs. You know that. You're just being a wise guy, and I'm okay with that. I like wise guys. I like them a lot. If I didn't, I'd hate myself. Very simple. Zach Snyder says, what was your favorite play over the course of this season? Wow. One play, one time. Lots of good plays. I'm going to mention, too, Nick Foligno is going to be the goal scorer in both. The one where he shot the puck between his legs and scored is an honorable mention one for me. And he did that against Tampa, right? Against Ben Bishop, who was his former teammate in Ottawa. So, yeah, because he said, I had to give him a different look because he saw me in practice all the time. Oh, so you shot it between your legs. Perfect. Hey, it worked. They only pick on you about that stuff when it doesn't work. So that's the honorable mention, but really that whole sequence to the overtime winner in Game 4, starting with R.J. Umberger blocking a shot and then getting up and giving the pass to Foligno and him scoring from inside the blue line. And the other honorable mention, I think, is the Dubinsky goal that tied that game late in regulation to force it into overtime. But that overtime winner was just everything that went into that play. Because you've said what was your favorite play, everything that went into that play, which was the puck going one way, then all of a sudden coming back the other way, block shot, get up, make a pass, walk in, shoot, score, game over, series tied, back to Pittsburgh. That was my favorite play of the year. And it's probably a lot of people's favorite plays of the year. If you asked a lot of people, they'd probably put that one down. And, yes, it is the most recent in memory. But, geez. One more. Robert Cron just came in. There's less than a minute, but I'll take Rob's question anyway here. Is the Blue Jackets becoming a hot spot for free agents since they can spend time here on IR and then get traded to Cup contenders? That's funny, Rob. No, that's not why it's a hot spot. It's a hot spot because you can come here, you can have a life. Ask Nathan Horton. You can have a life. You can be on a team that's on the upswing. You can be on a team that is garnering a lot of excitement in the community, and you have a chance to win. That's why it's becoming a hot spot. And that's why it will continue to be a hot spot, because it's going to continue to go in the right direction. How's that, Rob? Go to lunch. Save yourself. Simple as that. Kings Blackhawks tonight We'll talk about that one tomorrow. Recap that a little bit if you want to talk about it tomorrow. Rangers and Canadians will resume tomorrow as well. We can talk about that. As a matter of fact, we can talk about anything you want to. It's CBJ in 30, and it's coming at you again tomorrow, Thursday at 11:30 in the morning. Until then, I'm Bob McElligott. Thanks for being aboard, and so long.
I'll talk to